next day ahead. Joining me now to talk more about what we can expect former President Donald Trump's arraignments ahead of the arraignments are Brian Claypool and Misty Maris, both attorneys. And any defendant listening to their attorneys and a judge is one thing. This is a defendant unlike any we've seen. Brian, jump in here about the free speech issues and a potential gag order in this case. A tough spot for the judge.
Yeah, hey, Marty, great to be with you. Absolutely. I mean, you have to weigh the First Amendment as well, a right to free speech before you issue a gag order. And to Misty's point, there's no evidence before the court that President Trump has gone out there and argued the case in court or made inflammatory comments about this judge. So you can't just unilaterally issue a gag order that arguably violates President Trump's right to free speech before he's even arraigned or even at the arraignment. That would be unprecedented. And I don't think that would be fair either. I mean, the public has a right to hear what the parties think about the case. This case is the first ever where a former president has been indicted. So to gag the parties, I think, would be a disservice as well.
Well, and as we await the speech tonight, I think that will be a more important question that we ask at that point. To take us through the next steps of this, though, I was just talking to the judge about the potential of a mugshot. Ultimately, the speculation will end in the next couple of hours. The indictment will be unsealed. We'll learn about the multiple 30-plus criminal charges against him. Brian, how granular will that get? What will we learn specifically in the indictment, and how does that set up the next step in the case?
Yeah, Marty, well, I think the indictment is going to be based on New York Penal Code 175. It's basically bookkeeper fraud. That's the misdemeanor. Bookkeeper fraud means that President Trump allegedly instructed somebody to make a false entry in his books with an intent to defraud. And that's a misdemeanor. In order to elevate this to a felony, which if Bragg doesn't try to do that, he's going to be in deep water. Why would you ever indict a former president for a misdemeanor? If he's going to elevate this to a felony, it's 175.10. Basically, that says you got to prove what I just said, bookkeeper fraud, and then you've got to prove a second crime, that President Trump did that with the intent of committing another crime, and that second crime will probably be the campaign election finance violation, right? So you're going to have to prove two crimes in one to elevate this to a felony. And Marnie, I will tell you, there is a lot that's going to have to take place before this case ever sees a courtroom. I mean, first of all, Trump's probably going to try to seal his mugshot if it's taken. He's probably going to file a change of venue to get this out of Manhattan, where most everybody's against him in Manhattan. And then he's going to file a motion to dismiss all of these charges based on lack of jurisdiction, because that campaign election violation is a federal crime, and this is in state court. And then on top of that, you've got statute of limitations arguments. So there is a long way to go procedurally before this case ever sees a courtroom.
Right. And that said, you have to believe that the DA, Alvin Bragg, knows all of this as he files the charges, as he prosecutes this case, takes it to the grand jury. So, Misty, I mean, the chances of this thing going to trial, how likely is that?
So Brian Clayton is right on the money as usual. I did a lot of television with Brian. He's always spot on. There are so many pretrial challenges here.
Right, stop the speculation, right? Let's unlock this mystery, and in a couple hours from now, we will. Trial attorneys Brian Claypool, Misty Maris, as always, thank you. I learned a lot in our conversations.